Hey Snarf Goobers, how's it going? So, Merry Christmas. It's past Christmas though. And here's one of the things I got for Christmas. The G.I Joe compendium. Look at this thick boy right here. Sadly, mine came indented. The back cover has a little crease right there, as you can see. Which is why you don't order comics from Amazon. But, it's whatever. I don't mind it. All I care about is the stories and the art. And that's undamaged. Now, let's talk about this thing, because it's awesome. It collects the issues of G.I Joe 1 through 50, and it's got like a very low quality, almost newspapery paper, and that's pretty much all that there is to say about the build of the book. I will say though, for compendiums, sometimes they don't open up the best, but look at that. No creases in the spine whatsoever. It opens up like a dream. I'm 4 issues in right now, so I haven't finished it. This is just an overview, but I'm liking it so far. Really, really captivating war stories. Very high stakes. I used to watch the cartoons back in my mom's minivan when I was a kid, because she had one of those ones with the TV comes down from the ceiling, and it was awesome. But I never read any of the comics before. So I got them, and I'm loving them so far. Personally, with the paper quality, I'm a huge fan because it's a lot lighter. This is the kind of paper the art was meant to be shown on, because this is the kind of the paper they were using whenever these comics were released. And I actually prefer it, because also it cuts down on production costs, which means that it's cheaper for the consumer. This one costs $65 retail, but I got a discounted one. Now, I know I just said that it takes some of the costs off the consumer, and most compendiums are around $50 anyway. So you might be thinking like, that doesn't take off the cost at all. Yeah, it didn't this time, but I'm saying like, if we encourage more of this in the comic book industry and lower prices, if we like as a community say like, hey, we care more about the pricing than the paper quality, then maybe we could get more things like this. Because I like the lower quality paper. It's also lighter. With a book this thick, sometimes they can get really heavy. And this is real nice and light in my hands. If I'm holding it up and reading it, I would not get fatigued at all. But if I'm reading like an omnibus or something, I probably would. Another thing about the paper, if we push for lower quality paper and cheaper comics, we could potentially go back to the golden era, the golden age, where comics were actually affordable, and we could have a pull box of like 30 different comics and not have our wallets crying and begging for mercy, which would also be great, in my opinion. I love that because I like cheaper comics, but maybe that's not the best business model for them. I don't know. I know Japan does it well. They print in like recycled paper for their Shonen Jumps and do it in black and white. If the US did something like that, where they had some sort of like compendium-esque sized monthly or even weekly, probably not weekly because most comics are monthly, but if they had some sort of monthly magazine that had like their top 5 series on it and they were all this paper quality and it was at a reduced price, I would buy that every month in a heartbeat. And I think a lot of comic book fans agree with me. And we wouldn't even throw them away either. We wouldn't. We'd save them because we like that kind of stuff. But let me know what you think about that in the comments, because I've been thinking of ways to improve the comic book industry for a while. And I think that's one of the main things that would help it is the price, because one of the main reasons I got into manga first was because of how cheap it was. Getting like a trade paperback manga that's about this size is like $10, and a single issue nowadays is like $4 or $5. So you're getting a lot more bang for your buck with manga. Even when you're buying trade paperbacks, like $10 paperback, like a $10 trade paperback looks kind of like this. Like, look how much story you're getting. And I know that manga's printed in black and white, but if we could just print on lower quality paper to reduce the production cost, and we could then pass the savings on to the consumer, I think we would have a lot more affordable comic book market. And I think that it would also be a lot more approachable to new readers, because I know a lot of comic book readers are older, in their 30s. They were around during the 90s when the big comic book craze happened. And I feel like that'd be a great way to draw in new readers. I'm sorry for going on a side tangent, but let me know what you guys think about that. Because I think if the US followed a similar business model to Japan, we would be doing a lot better commercially. Let me look at some of this art too. The color really pops off this paper. Like, it just feels like it was meant to be read on this paper. Whenever I read comic books that were printed on paper like this, but they're printed on like glossy paper, something about it just feels off. This really gives me comic vibes. Like, I feel nostalgic reading this, even though I've never read it before. So I would personally, just on the build quality of this book, give it a 10 out of 10. Because look at that. Like, what, you don't always get that from compendiums. That's something else. Like, I can just hold it like that, right on the eye. No creasing whatsoever. With a book this thick, that's impressive. They might have actually done this paper quality with this book just in order to make sure the back doesn't crease like that. But yeah, there's not any extras in this book. It's just issues 1 through 50. But if you like war stories and kind of, it's not super realistic, but it's like pretty realistic. I think the only thing that's not realistic about the G.I Joe is the laser rifles and stuff. Like the laser weapons they have. And sometimes there's like big robots. That's kind of unrealistic, but they're still interesting stories. I'd check it out if you're a fan of comics and you're a fan of G.I Joe, because, I mean, there's great stories. Don't mean to reiterate myself. It's been a little while since I made a video, so what's up? I'm taking forever to finish the classic X-Men, I know. I've just been so excited that I got this G.I Joe thing for Christmas. I've only been reading this, and also Quantum and Woody, and a lot of stuff, actually. Like I said, I bounce around between so many different series at once, but let me know if you guys are picking this one up, because I think it's a fire read. Sorry if I was talking a little weird. I bit my tongue earlier.